There's this girl who wrote a book about not having sex for a year. Her name is Hephzibah. It's kind of a weird name. Yeah. You know, when I saw that video, I thought to myself, I can really make a video about this. So let's just watch it.
It wasn't an accidental romantic, a dry spell, but a determined decision to go a year without sex that led to this book, Chastened, My Year Without Sex. Author Hephzibah Anderson joins us now from New York to talk about this decision, what she discovered along the way, and how did it all come to this, Hephzibah?
Well,
the first thing I want to say is, damn, she's pretty good looking. I mean, she's pretty hot. The second thing I want to say is, what the fuck? You're making a book about not doing something? I always thought that our accomplishments were about doing stuff, as opposed to not doing stuff.
I was on the cusp of turning 30, so I was doing some thinking anyway, and...
You know, it always bothers me when people, especially girls, talk about not having sex for a year as if that's a big accomplishment. You accomplish something when you do something, not when you don't do something. Okay, I don't brag about how I didn't mow the lawn today, right?
I happened to see my old college boyfriend in New York, both of us miles away from, thousands of miles away from home, and he was walking into De Beers to buy his new fiancée an engagement ring, and it got me thinking about the relationships that had followed that in my 20s, and I realized that not only was he my first serious relationship, but he was also the last man in almost a decade to have said, I love you.
I mean, wouldn't that be hilarious if this ex-boyfriend of hers was like a black guy? He's like, hey, look at here, it's my hot ex-white girlfriend. I'm just heading over to De Beers to buy my new white wife a new engagement ring. Your old news, bitch.
Which is obviously a terrible indictment of my romantic choices, and it brought into focus a lot of emotional frustration I was feeling. I think women especially, but men also, are under pressure to have sex in a very particular way.
What is this particular way supposed to mean? Like, is she talking about anal sex?
So I just decided to step back from it all for a year.
So it was almost as if you kind of came to this realization, or you were tangling with, had you been kind of throwing it away, throwing away this intimacy, almost because there was pressure, or it became so casual that everyone seemed to be doing it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that sex has become less and less of a personal thing. And you know, we all are exposed to so many sexual images, you know, across the media, that we have a very particular idea of how it should look and of how it should feel, and we're all sort of turned into voyeurs, and we forget that it's a very private thing, and that what we want from sex changes from person to person, and also it changes as we grow and get older. And the other thing to consider is that I think for women, we sort of oppress ourselves with this misguided notion that equality is the right to go out and have sex.
So,
you know, like, the thing that you realize when she's talking about this shit is like, okay, so she went a year without having sex. And she's beautiful. I mean, she's gorgeous. Now, the first thing I'm thinking is, wait a minute, so you mean a year prior to this, she was having sex like crazy? Holy shit! That's kind of a turn-on, actually. And look at the fucking, like, the book stand for her book. I see these big fucking lips, and they look like they want to do inappropriate things to the human body. Yeah, she's definitely not selling sex here, right? I think that's kind of deceptive. No, I'm not going to have sex for a year. But I'm selling sex. That's what she's doing. She's selling sex. And now she's talking about how we're being saturated with sexual imagery. That's exactly what you're doing, Hephzibah!
Okay, so you articulate it this way in your book. We just kind of extracted a few thoughts from your book. You say sex and its pursuit seem to have become such blood sport. Their rules so confusing and their standards so exacting that it's not hard to wonder occasionally whether it's all worth it. Did you come to that conclusion before or after abstaining?
Yes.
You know what bothers me? Is the fact that CNN is covering this. CNN. We have people dying in Pakistan from terrorist bombings that happen every fucking day. We have people dying in India from terrorism. We have a war in Iraq. We have a war in Afghanistan. And what CNN is covering is this bitch not having sex for a year? Are you kidding me?
Yes, on the before.
That was before.
Uh-huh.
That was before. You know, I think we're under an enormous amount of pressure to be sexy, to feel sexual, especially as women. You know, even our hair has to be sexy, and it all gets to become a bit of a turn-off.
Oh man, she is so horny. She wants it so bad, I can tell. I mean, just look how she's moving around in her chair. Damn.
Okay, and then you write, my vow has become less of a nun's habit than a child's security blanket. It's something to cling to, a reason to say no. So, you know, before you did kind of feel like it was being thrown away. Now you really value it like never before. Is this kind of a challenge that you have for other young men or women that maybe they need to make this kind of commitment to themselves?
Geez, even the host is getting kind of turned on by this whole discussion. I mean, she's like all giggly and smiling. We're all talking about sex. Woo.
Absolutely, and you know, the point I was trying to make there is that you know, we have less and less reasons to say no, and the further you get into your dating life, the more that becomes true. And you know, we really stigmatize the dry spell, whereas for me it was a very rich period, and I think, you know, anybody out there who's stuck in a dry spell, if they just commit to it and make it a choice, there's a lot they can gain from that, rather than feeling, you know, just feeling lousy.
Yeah. Okay. So before we go, so kind of now what, without getting too much into your personal business, you know, this is
not getting into our personal business. I thought that was the whole point of this book.
This is a documentation of a year. I actually got an email from someone just as we had teased that we would be talking to you, and this person says, you know, a year, that's nothing. She hasn't had sex in 13 years. Count them, 13 years, and she believes it has been a very worthy cause in her view. I don't know exactly, you know, what precipitated, you know, her decision, but do you kind of feel like, you know, there's a challenge, I guess, to those who, you know, maybe you don't want to set a time frame, you just kind of do what's comfortable?
Yes.
Look at the look on her face. She's like, duh, you went 13 years, or whatever the fuck she said. See, it's all an act. It's just to sell this ridiculous book. I checked her history. She never wrote anything else. This is the only thing she ever wrote. I don't know what to say anymore.
Exactly, and I think it's all about repersonalizing sex and figuring out what you want from it and what you need from it.
What the fuck does that even mean? I didn't understand the question, and I didn't understand the answer. What the fuck are you guys talking about anymore?
All right, Hephzibah Anderson, thanks so much. The book is Chastened, My Year Without Sex. Very interesting. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Coming to us from New York there.
In conclusion, can we, like, you know, concentrate on more meaningful things in our lives? Like, I don't know, doing something useful for humanity? This is Enigma Hood signing off.